Good morning, student. Welcome to Christ College Autonomous Audit course Human Rights for BA students. I take in the last class I took the Human Rights India. Then the last time we divided our module to the 4 part. In the last class I already dealt with the history of human rights in India. Sorry, the background of human rights in India. Today we are going to the next part of this module, the Indian Constitution, human rights, how the Indian Constitution and human rights are connected. Before that, we should know what are the fundamental rights, like what is the meaning of fundamental rights, or what does it mean by fundamental rights. Fundamental rights, according to Indian Constitution, the fundamental rights are human rights which are guaranteed by a written constitution. As you know that our constitution is a written constitution. In Indian context, the fundamental right means which the human rights are guaranteed by our Indian constitution. Then these fundamental rights are universal because it is applicable to all Indians. Because, or in other words, it's a basic human freedom which every Indian citizen has the right to enjoy. Then I already mentioned, like, again, these fundamental rights are universally applicable, irrespective of your religion, your caste, or your creed, or your linguistic background, whatever it is. It's applicable to all Indians. These are the basic rights, like, or in other words. Then these fundamental rights are, if doesn't work, then these fundamental rights should enforceable by courts, because court has a major role. If someone is not following, or authority is not following these fundamental rights applicable to all Indian citizens, then court should interfere. Then courts has every right to enforce it, or order the concerned authority to follow fundamental rights as ensured by our constitution. Then just maybe you might be wondering, like, these fundamental rights should be influenced by certain documents, like, okay, as we know that Indian human rights movement is really influenced by the Western tradition, especially the tradition which developed during and after Enlightenment period, late 18th century Enlightenment period. So there are certain documents which influence, the development of fundamental rights in Indian Constitution. Let's see what are those documents, historical documents. The first one, the England's Bill of Rights, which passed on 16 December 1689. This England's Bill of Rights, which came into effect after the Glorious Revolution of 1688. This Bill of Rights, which guaranteed, the prominence of British Parliament, English Parliament over the Crown. Then the Crown was, decorated by William and Mary, the joint crown. So this bill ensured that, the guaranteed English Parliament, the dominance of a crown. The England still follow the tradition. Then another major historical document which influenced our, the fundamental right is France Declaration of the Right of Man. France Declaration of the Right of Man, which passed on 26 August 1789. It occurred during French Revolution. Then again, it's heavily influenced by the thoughts of Enlightenment thinkers. They drafted it. It again influenced our the development of our fundamental, or the formation of our fundamental rights. The another major historical document which influenced the creation of fundamental rights in Indian Constitution is the United States Bill of Rights. The United States Bill of Rights, which was passed on 15 December 1791, because again there is a connection between the post-colonial US, America, and the France. So the French Revolution also influenced the formation of the United States Bill of Rights. Then the US just got their independence from British. So the United States Bill of Rights, which came into effect on 15 December 1791, which is also helped the creation of the formation of fundamental rights in Indian Constitution, or it also had significant influence. Then we are coming to the 20th century. One another important document, we can call it milestone in the history of human rights movement in the world. That document is Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In short, we can call it UDHR. again, as Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which passed on 10 December 1948, which passed in the United Nations. Then we know that at the same time India got just independence. Then India was drafting the new constitution. The first draft committee was, the second draft committee was, the third drafting committee was. So this document, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, came into effect when India was preparing her own constitution. So naturally, this Universal Declaration of Human Rights heavily influenced the making of our fundamental rights. As you know that our constitution came into effect on 26 January 1950. So that's why we have to see, again, this Universal Declaration of Human Rights is heavily influenced by the document which already mentioned above, the United States Bill of Rights, the France Declaration of Rights of Man, and the England's Bill of Rights. That's why we have to see what about this Universal Declaration of Human Rights in detail, because this document is pretty new. Again, it is regarded as milestone document in the history of human rights. So let's see, you can see here, in the PowerPoint, some major points, this document was passed on 10 December 1948 in Paris. This document was passed on 10 December 1948 in Paris. The experts from various parts of the world, they specialized in, not exactly specialized, they are from different cultural background. So they were members in drafting this document, the phenomenal document. It's not only from the West, there are members from the non-Western countries. They are from very different legal background. They also participate in the formation of the making of this new document, that is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It was passed on 10 December 1948. Then it's again universal. It's applicable to all people, irrespective of nation. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is still in effect. It's even in the 21st century, even in the 2021, it's still in very, strongly in effect. Then, but the problem, there is one con of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It was only a declaration. It was only a declaration. It was not a treaty. It was only a declaration. That's why the concerned members of the United Nations has their own responsibility to enforce it. They have their own moral responsibility to enforce it, because UN can force them, United Nations can force them. That's the con or the drawback of this, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That's the drawback of this historical document. UDHR is a wonderful idea, but the problem with this document that the concerned members of United Nations has the moral responsibility to, enforce it in their own nation, because United Nations does not have any military force to enforce it. It was only a declaration. The concerned countries, the responsible member states, should follow it in their own nation. These are I go to the next slide. These are the fundamental rights recognized by Indian Constitution. These are the basic human rights recognized by our Indian Constitution. As you see, the first one, the right to equality. Right to equality, including equality before law, because previously in India, what's the difference between this post-independent constitution and the previous constitutions, not exactly constitution, previous laws. The constitution of post-independent India, which ensure equality before law. Equality before all, because your background is not matter, your religion is not matter, your community is not matter, your caste is not matter, your lineage is not matter, your birth is not matter, because it's a completely new idea, which came into effect after independence of India. That's part of our Indian Constitution. That's in right to equality. That's equality before law, irrespective of your irrespective of your background, social and economic. The second fundamental right to freedom of speech and expression. Every Indian citizen has right to express their opinion. Every Indian citizen has, it may be right, it may be wrong. That's up to that is a different case. But everyone has right to make their opinion, because they have that fundamental right. The third one, right against exploitation. right against exploitation, because you can't exploit a certain person, or you can't force child to do like underage child to do the like manual work. This law protect children from the child labor, right against exploitation. This fundamental right protect underage like adolescent kids from the child labor, because child labor was very common then. Like now it's also exists in some parts of it, but before 1940s when it was very, very common. So it ensured, it guaranteed right against exploitation, because you can't force someone to do job, someone to do like manual labor without having like the basic, without having any proper wage or like food or something. You have to pay, because the laborer has every right to get the wage or like other like remuneration according to their work. Another, the fourth, the fundamental right is right to freedom of conscious and free profession, because every Indian citizen has the right to decide which one is wrong, which one is right for them, because that Indian citizen has, according to the like the common sense, or according to the will. Every Indian citizen has the right to decide which one is good for them, which one is bad, because it won't hurt the national sentiment, that's other thing, or the national right, that's other thing. But every Indian citizen has national interest, that's other thing. But every Indian citizen has the right to to decide which one is good or which one is bad for them. That's what we mean by the conscience. Then everyone has right to adopt the profession they want. If you want to work as a journalist, you have all right to work as a journalist. If you want to work as a carpenter, you have every right to work as a carpenter, irrespective of your community background or irrespective of your religious background, because one particular community can't monopolize a particular job. Because in India, according to caste system, every caste has their own traditional, the traditional occupation. But after the formation of our constitution, because that case is that is different. According to the fundamental right, one community can't monopolize a certain profession. Anyone has right to learn or practice profession they want. If you want to become an administrator, you can become an administrator. If you want to become a priest, you can become a priest. If you want to become a carpenter, you can become a carpenter. If you want to become a leather maker, you can become a leather maker. If you want to become a merchant, you can become a merchant, irrespective of your community background. Another major fundamental right, the fundamental right number 5 is like right of Indian citizen to conserve their culture. That's very important, because that India is very heterogeneous in nature. The people from different religion, different caste, different ethnicity, people from different linguistic background, all are coexist here. That's why this right which ensure every Indian citizen to conserve their culture, even their religion, even their own language. Maybe some languages like they are very minority. There are some Adivasi language, tribal language considered as that languages don't have script. Then very few people speak, but still they have every right to protect their language. You can't force certain language over them. Indian state can't force certain language over certain minority communities. If they want to follow their language, if they want to learn the language, you can't force. You can't you can't ban them, because you can't impose certain language over them. So every Indian citizen has every right to protect their culture, protect their the language, protect their religion, protect their their own cultural practices. But it won't harm the interest of nation, or it won't harm the interest of other communities. Otherwise, it's perfectly okay according to New Indian Constitution. Then the last and final point, the fundamental right is the right to constitutional remedy for enforcement of fundamental right. But in certain cases, there is a fundamental rights, but not everyone can follow it, or not everyone can practice it, because as you know that there is a hierarchy. It's not a egalitarian society, very old civilization. Then it has its own hierarchy. So yeah, in book or in constitution there are wonderful ideas, but that ideas may not work in the ground, work in the reality, because there may be clashes between communities. But then the court should interfere, or constitution should interfere. Then there should be constitutional remedies for enforcement, because these fundamental rights should enforce with the help of police or the court, or maybe to the constitutional changes. They have enforced. For example, untouchability. Untouchability was widespread in India, so that's against the first principle, right to equality, or including equality before that. It's against that principle, but society follow it. So how maybe if one declare that there is no untouchability from tomorrow onwards, maybe society may not accept it, or some other community may not accept it. So the constitution should guarantee, or constitution should change, constitution should bring some provision for it. So the court and police has legal authorities has, or the enforcing authority have every right to interfere in the favor of untouchables, to protecting their own the fundamental right. Okay, then that's for today. I would like to stop here. Then see you in the next class. Thanks for your cooperation and patience. Have a nice day.